Alexander Graham Bell was a Scottish-born American inventor, scientist, and engineer best known for inventing the first practical telephone in 1876, founding the Bell Telephone Company in 1877, and a refinement of Thomas Edison's phonograph in 1886. Greatly influenced by the deafness of both his mother and his wife, Bell dedicated much of his life's work to researching hearing and speech and helping the hearing-impaired communicate. Alexander Graham Bell was born on March 3, 1847, to Alexander Melville Bell and Eliza Grace Simons Bell in Edinburgh, Scotland. He had two brothers, Melville James Bell and Edward Charles Bell, both of whom would die of tuberculosis. Having been born simply Alexander Bell, at age 10, he begged his father to give him a middle name like his two brothers. On his 11th birthday, his father granted his wish, allowing him to adopt the middle name, Graham, chosen out of respect for Alexander Graham, a family friend. In 1864, Bell attended the University of Edinburgh along with his older brother Melville. In 1865, the Bell family moved to London, England, where in 1868, Alexander passed the entrance examinations for University College London. From an early age, Bell had been immersed in the study of sound and hearing. His mother had lost her hearing at age 12, and his father, uncle, and grandfather were authorities on elocution and taught speech therapy for the deaf. It was understood that Bell would follow in the family footsteps after finishing college. However, after his brothers both died of tuberculosis, he withdrew from college in 1870 and immigrated with his family to Canada. In 1871, at age 24, Bell immigrated to the United States, where he taught at the Boston School for Deaf Mutes, the Clark School for the Deaf in Northampton, Massachusetts, and at the American School for the Deaf in Hartford, Connecticut. In early 1872, Bell met Boston attorney Gardner Green Hubbard, who would become one of his primary financial backers and father-in-law. In 1873, he began working with Hubbard's 15-year-old daughter Mabel Hubbard, who had lost her hearing at age 5 after nearly dying of scarlet fever. Despite the nearly 10-year difference in their ages, Alexander and Mabel fell in love and were married on July 11, 1877, a matter of days after Alexander had founded the Bell Telephone Company. As a wedding present, Bell gave his bride all but 10 of his 1,497 shares in his promising new telephone company. The couple would go on to have 4 children, daughters Elsie, Marion, and 2 sons who died in infancy. In October 1872, Bell opened his own school of vocal physiology and mechanics of speech in Boston. One of his students was the young Helen Keller. Unable to hear, see, or speak, Keller would later praise Bell for dedicating his life to helping the deaf break through the inhuman silence which separates and estranges. By October 1874, Bell's research had progressed to the extent that he could inform his future father-in-law about the possibility of a multiple telegraph. Hubbard, who had long resented the absolute control then exerted by the Western Union Telegraph Company, instantly saw the potential for breaking such a monopoly and gave Bell the financial backing he needed. Always the shrewd businessman, Bell took every opportunity to show the public what his telephone could do. After seeing the device in action at the 1876 Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, Emperor of Brazil, Dom Pedro II, exclaimed, "My God, it talks." Several other demonstrations followed, each successful at a greater distance than the last. On July 9, 1877, the Bell Telephone Company was organized, with Emperor Dom Pedro II being the first person to buy shares. One of the first telephones in a private residence was installed in Dom Pedro's Petropolis Palace. On January 25, 1915, Bell successfully made the first transcontinental telephone call. In New York City, Bell spoke into the telephone's mouthpiece, repeating his famous request, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want you." From San Francisco, California, 3,400 miles, 5,500 kilometers away, Mr. Watson replied, "It will take me 5 days to get there now." These interests may be considered minor activities compared to the time and effort he put into making advances in manned flight technology. By the 1890s, Bell had begun experimenting with propellers and kites, which led him to apply the concept of the tetrahedron, a solid figure with 4 triangular faces, to kite design as well as to create a new form of architecture. In 1907, 4 years after the Wright brothers first flew at Kitty Hawk, Bell formed the Aerial Experiment Association with Glenn Curtiss, William Casey Baldwin, Thomas Selfridge, and J.A.D. McCurdy, four young engineers with the common goal of creating airborne vehicles. By 1909, the group had produced four powered aircraft, the best of which, the Silver Dart, made a successful powered flight in Canada on February 23, 1909. Despite being known for his invention of the telephone, Bell regarded the photophone as the greatest invention I have ever made, greater than the telephone. The invention set the foundation upon which today's laser and fiber optic communication systems are rooted, though it would take the development of several modern technologies to fully capitalize on this breakthrough. Bell spent the last decade of his life improving the designs of hydrofoil boats. As they gain speed, hydrofoils lift the boat's hull out of the water, decreasing drag and allowing greater speeds. In 1919, Bell and Casey Baldwin built a hydrofoil that set a world water speed record that was not broken until 1963. Bell died of complications arising from diabetes and anemia on August 2, 1922, at his estate in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, at age 75. He was buried on August 4, 1922, atop Bainbrig Mountain, on his estate overlooking Bras d'Or Lake. As the funeral ended, all of the more than 14 million telephones in the United States at the time were silenced for 1 minute.